Jungkook was on his knees, holding the hand of the girl he loved so dearly. His eyes were red, and he looked so worn out, too tired, too near to give up, but he didn't. He was just not ready to. Jungkook, the Ryan I know is my ball of sunshine. She wouldn't do this. Why would you? Why would you behave like the villain that you never were? Ryan, I was always like this, Jungkook. You just failed to see past through me. She pulled her hand back. She felt so cold, it numbed his bones. He looked up at her with such pain and disappointment in his eyes, she thought death might be easier. Vine woke up with sweat forming all over her forehead. Her body was shaking and her breath uneven. She tried to gasp and fill in her lungs with some oxygen, but it was getting even more harder. It was cold, too cold, and the other side of her bed was empty. He was gone. She threw him away. She hugged a pillow and cried, screamed, and pulled onto her hair. Her nails scratching her arms, leaving abusive marks behind. It started to bleed, but nothing exceeded the pain in her heart. No one was there to listen to her painful sobs. Ryan, I'm sorry, Jungkook. I'm so sorry. They made me do it. They made me do it. A whole month has passed by since they broke up, and just like that, one more did. 2 months. 2 months, and she was spending her nights alone, in misery, guilt, pain, and the heartache of losing the one who loved her the most. She couldn't get over the fact how many times Jungkook came after her without caring about his self respect, since he couldn't believe that she wanted to break up. He respected her place, but this one thing he was unable to accept. It broke him inside out. He loved her so much to let her go. He came after her once and she rejected him. Then again, and it happened so many times that he thought coming after her now would be more painful than losing her. One day, he stopped, and nothing about it helped her situation. Jungkook was from a wealthy family. His father was always supportive of him, but he wasn't ready to accept his son marrying someone out of the circle, especially a girl belonging to a middle class family who would bring them no business benefit. He came after Vine and threatened her to leave Jungkook, or he would go as far as killing her family. Vine was a common girl. She got so scared. She knew how these rich people are. Even law doesn't work against them. She was too scared to think straight, and that's when she pushed him out of her life. There was this uncountable pain of losing him. Then there was this guilt that was making her want to kill herself. He didn't deserve this. He deserved to know. And with a heavy heart, ready to be rejected, she found herself standing before Jungkook's home. He didn't live here anymore. He used to when they were together. After their separation, Jungkook's father took him back to their joint home. He won his son. and Vine ended up being the villain in their story. She sat there on the porch, she prayed, and kept praying for him to come home once. A day passed by. It was night when he suddenly came out of the home to her utter shock. She thought he would never come back here. When his eyes fell on her, he had nothing but pain and hate in his eyes. After how long she saw him, all she wanted was to take him in her arms and run away from this cruel world. Jungkook, whatever you are here to say, leave. There's nothing for you anymore. Not in my heart, not in this home. She was ready to take his hateful words, but why was her heart breaking apart? Ryan, let me explain once. Just 1 minute. Only one. Jungkook, you should have done that when I asked you so many times, like a loser. Go back. Even if you were innocent, I don't care anymore. He closed the door behind, wearing his jacket. Jungkook, don't make me call the security and throw you out. He glared at her and walked out of there. She could do nothing to stop him. The Jungkook was ready to die for her. How could she handle this side of him? But again, it was all her fault. He must have went through such a huge trauma to turn himself this cold towards the pain. But still, he was there in her home. He still couldn't move on. He returned after half an hour. There was a plastic bag in his hands, and it was filled with alcohol. When he found her still there, his eyes filled up with fury. Jungkook, guards! He yelled. Don't force me, Ryan. I don't want you to go through the humiliation that I did, even if that's exactly what you deserve. Three of the guards dressed in black instantly gathered up, ready to take his order. But, like he didn't care about his self respect back, she wasn't going to do so either. Ryan, I am not leaving. You want to throw me out? Go ahead. Do it. But that's not happening unless they touch me and physically force me to leave this place. A tiny beam of hope. He still wasn't ready to see her getting touched by someone else. Jungkook, fine. Then, rot here. He went inside once again, slamming the door shut behind himself. Jungkook was the most caring, patient, and loving person she knew, not only in her case, but in general. She sometimes believed he was not the son of those monsters who were the exact reason he looked this way now. She knew he would never hate her for falling out of love or breaking up, no matter how hurt he might be, but he would never go to the lengths of growing hatred in his heart. The insult she threw his way was the reason. They were so in love, so happy. One day she woke up and started acting cold, asking him to leave. It was too hard for him to accept that. He believed something was wrong, so he kept coming after her. and that was the only reason she had to throw insults his way to push him away completely. She called him a loser and pathetic for taking love so seriously when it was just a time pass for her. Words like she was just in there because she needed some financial help, even if she never took an advantage of his money. Too many times she yelled at him to never come back, and that's how slowly his soul broke apart. She closed her eyes and looked down at her hands. Her eyes teared up and her body started to turn cold. She was getting another panic attack, and she knew it wouldn't end anywhere good. Wine, Jungkook, please, one last time. I'm ready to risk everything. I'm ready to risk my life. Just please, one last time. She cried as she hit against the door with her fist. The other person wouldn't know how her situation slowly started to get worse. Her body was shaking in a way even she couldn't control herself. She gripped her hair and called him out again and again. She wasn't in her senses to remember that the home was soundproof. There was no way Jungkook could hear her. She kept calling out for him. Her nails started to scratch against her arms again. The panic attack hit her so bad, reminding her of all those times she insulted him out of fear. The time when his dad came to threaten her. The memories of her family. Ryan, it's all because of me. You're in pain because of me. My family will die because of me. I'll end this all. I'll end everything. No one will be in pain anymore. She talked to herself and turned around. Her moves were frantic as she grabbed a vase and threw it with such force it broke into pieces. She grabbed one sharp piece and held it against her wrist. Ryan, you won't be in pain anymore. You don't have to ruin yourself for something you never deserved. With shaky hands, she cursed her wrist, drawing out blood, and it cut her pulse vein as well, leaving no room for life anymore. To be continued.